this computer. Over to you, Ayokomi.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Wally. Yeah, good evening, everyone. Please confirm that you can hear me and also confirm that there's no background noise.
Yes, this is better. We can hear you clearly.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I think, yeah, thank you, Wally. Just a moment, I'll start sharing my screen just in a minute. Please confirm once you're able to see my screen. Please confirm once you're able to see my screen.
Yeah, we can see.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thanks everyone once again, and good evening. Um, yeah, last time we met, I think that was on Saturday. We had a quick look at the Defender platform itself, and then we spoke about the um, different functionalities and then the different features that are available in within the Defender, and we also spoke about the Defender configuration, which includes the configuring the Defender portal itself, the settings for Defender XDR, email and collaboration, identity, cloud app, and we didn't touch on Sentinel, but we also did mention the capabilities available within the Sentinel. Basically, I also did mention that there are also other Defender solutions which are currently not showing. For instance, we have the Defender for Endpoint, which is not granted by EMS license. That has to be purchased separately. And also, I think Microsoft sort of wants people to have already have some license before they can have the Defender for Endpoint. And yeah, so you may find out that you may find out that you need to have the paid version of Defender for Endpoint for you to try it out. But if you don't have Microsoft 365 E3 or Office, yeah, or E5, Microsoft does not allow people to try out Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, and as such, you probably have to pay. I have gone ahead to just pay for one license of Microsoft 365. I mean, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint P2, but I'm going to cancel it maybe later this week, maybe on Saturday, so that I don't have to pay maybe more than £2 for this. Yeah, that said, I think it's proper that we also sort of have a structure to our learning, just for everyone to come to, to the class, knowing what topic we're going to be having and how we are going to be structuring it. And like we have mentioned, the intention is for everyone to be able to go through this course get the help that they need in terms of get the help that they need in terms of the hands-on. But if you're willing to write exam at the end of this course, I'll say the best way to make most of this program is for individual to actually go through each of these learning paths that Microsoft has specified, and that will ensure that you can also follow the class, and also maybe where the class has focused on an area. If you have a question you would like to clarify, you can always do that. Last Saturday, what we did was to understand how to mitigate threats using Microsoft Defender XDR. And basically, if you remember that we talked about different things, how investigation is done, and also the other modules that are available to us within the Defender for SDR. Within the Defender XDR, but some of the things that we did not cover is what I'm going to cover this evening. And then on Saturday, we'll get started with Defender for endpoints in proper. So please, going forward, I think what we're going to do going forward is for us to actually drop the topic after each class, what the next topic is going to be, just for everyone to be able to read ahead of the class and also come up with meaningful questions. And I think for some of the action items there, you can always also anticipate them, attempt them even ahead of the class. And when you run into issues, I think it's easier to have that conversation. So it will not really be possible to cover everything in details in the class if we're going to stay within time. But I'll say it's worth actually just trying ahead of the class, and that would help. So if you look at this in terms of the objective, Microsoft wants us to have an introduction to Defender XDR protection, which we have sort of done. We also had a conversation around mitigating incident using Microsoft Defender, um, remediating risk with Defender for Office, managing Microsoft Entra Identity Protection, and also safeguarding your environment using Defender for Identity, and how to secure your cloud apps and service with Microsoft Defender for apps. So today we just start with remediating risks using Defender for Office. So within Microsoft Defender for Office, Microsoft Defender for Office has a capability, like we mentioned on the call last week. One of the capability of Microsoft Defender is the Defender for Office, and what that basically do, it helps you as an organization to actually um, simulate more of social engineering attack, and also automate some responses, and also be able to conduct training and awareness for your staff. A lot of the time, it's not even a lot of the time, if you actually look at what a lot of the organization, how a lot of the recent attack happens, it always starts with maybe it always starts or has some undertone of social engineering or human behavior hacking as an element of it. And that's one of the things that Microsoft Office Defender for Office is actually helping to address. We can see here Microsoft Defender for Office provide these following benefits: industry leading protection. Um, Microsoft Defender for Office plug into so many things to pick signals from email alone. There is about 6.5 trillion signals daily. And what that means actually is Microsoft is not securing your environment own based on the what's it called on the things that happen within your environment alone. Microsoft has access to different emails, and also they are able to learn attacks that they have witnessed in several other organizations, their emails, or maybe from their users, and use that to also enhance security for other users of their platform. And daily, the Microsoft is saying that they are actually able to pick up about 6.5 trillion signals from emails to actually do some enhancing. Actionable insights are presented to security administrator. If you look at the Defender for Cloud, for instance, I did mention the attack, the attack map, the attack path, and maybe the exposure insight. And based on this, what Microsoft is able to do is actually to also give you some recommendations that can actually help you also improve the security of your organization. We spoke about how the configuration is done, and I think we also had a conversation last week where basically it was possible for us to actually show how we want remediation to happen. If we want it to be automated in such a way that Microsoft can always pick it up when they find issue in the environment and alert the admin, or if it is in such a way that we want it to be manual. I did mention also the fact of the training, which is possible, the training and awareness, and then the social engineering attack, such as phishing, which we can conduct on users, and then at the end also be able to take some response. Yeah, so because of the automation that is also part of because of the automation at scale that is also part of the defender. I think security admin are able, and I'm going to actually just run through this content first, just to actually pick some this, and then maybe much later after the break when we come back, then we can go into the answer. So yeah, security admins are able to save time with automated investigation and response. So when doing an investigation, just because Microsoft have done a lot of the heavy lifting through the alerting and all of those things that we actually looked at last week, it's very easy for an admin to actually just work on the actionable part of their job and not necessarily actually spend a lot of time trying to do investigation, because Microsoft collects all of the alerts for them and presents it as incident where alerts are grouped together that actually show an attack pattern for security admin to look at and also to work on as appropriate. We also spoke about how the configuration can be done. For cloud, Defender for Office, this is a component that protects more like email, more like the clickjacking and all those attacks that has to do with that comes in through email mostly. So basically, you are able to configure to protect and to detect. And to be honest, if you look at the attachment policy, for instance, a lot of time when an attacker, you probably have, they will tell you that when you receive an email, do not trust anything by default. You should always verify. And one of the way that people get hacked is maybe someone sending them an email in posting as someone that those people already know. and maybe putting a link, asking them to click a link which can be malicious, or probably weaponizing maybe something like an attachment and putting an attachment in an email, asking them to open something that may look like what's it called, PDF file, for instance, but not necessarily a PDF file. It can actually just be a bit or any other malware or whatever. So one of the functionality of Microsoft Defender is actually for the defender to be able to look at the attachment and then check if it is I mean, you can check for malware, and Microsoft normally when Microsoft notices that something is a malware, Microsoft will prevent it from delivering. But if Microsoft notices that it's likely a malware but not certain, you also have the flexibility of actually configuring what you want to be done for something that has not been totally established as a malware. More like for things that maybe like a 0 day, for instance. So you have an action item of just turning it off. Maybe you want to monitor, maybe you want to block, maybe you want to replace, and maybe you want to make it a dynamic delivery. I'm not going to go into the details here, but I'm just going to allow individual to what is it called? Individual to go through the reading. And also you see here that it's also very possible for you to actually have a redirect of the attachment on detection, maybe to the security admin. So basically, they may be interested in wanting to analyze it more. So when you have a new attachment, basically you can monitor, replace, or block action to the email if you have to scan it first, which is what Microsoft always do for no malware. Just first to check and be sure that what you are receiving as attachment is safe and doesn't pose any harm to you and your organization basically. So these are the configurable actions. And also if you want if you find out that an attachment actually is malicious or contain a malware, you may want to block and possibly forward it to maybe your admin, for instance. So you can always configure that as a policy. As well, also, it's possible for you to have a save link. What save link ensures is that any link embedded in an email or maybe in an attachment that has been sent to you, basically, Microsoft can always capture the link first before your users are able to use it. Or anytime anybody click on that link, Microsoft can wrap the email I mean the link around Microsoft Defender for Office. And what that does basically is that anytime anybody click it, because of the wrapping, you are actually initiating a link first to Microsoft Defender, who then look at the email, I mean at the link, be sure that the URL is safe, and after that, it's able to then ensure that users are directed to where they need to be. And also you can have an anti-phishing policies which actually make impersonation and business email compromise unlikely. For anti-phishing, I think a lot of time you may have someone impersonating maybe an executive in the company and trying to send an email maybe to what is it for someone else, maybe someone in the finance who authorize the payment in the name of the person that they have that is being impersonated. So basically, the defender for office also help you to actually protect your organization and your people against anti-phishing policies. Also, as part of Defender for Endpoint, one of the things that Microsoft is also able to do is user behavioral analytics, and all of this is actually gathered based on the information Microsoft has obtained on the pattern of usage of on the pattern of usage and interaction of the employee with interaction of the employee with what is it called? Interaction of the employee that Microsoft has learned. And basically, also for that, you also have some things that are configurable attack you can simulate, which actually help you see. For instance, it could be that one of the things that you're doing in your organization is to say that, okay, when people receive a phishing email, what's the next course of action or what do you want them to do? If what you have said is for them to actually report it, one of the ways to actually know that when they get into the real life scenario that they will do the reporting is for you to actually simulate an attack and see if they actually report it or maybe they just if they actually report it or maybe they just ignore all of the training that you have given them and you see them actually clicking the link that you said you should not click or do something else that you have advised them against. So all of these are the possibilities. And yeah, so you also have a simulation features that help you also simulate and get that. And also just for some knowledge check, okay. I think there are some things that I did not discuss. I think I actually mentioned it, yes. But I think for me to also know whether we are following, I did mention that Microsoft Defender for Office is more of an email service solution. And what Microsoft use it to do is basically to manage the threats that can filter down to organizations through their email. So Microsoft wants us to do some knowledge check here. And this is it. The first one is a true or false question. Microsoft Defender for Office 365 requires an agent to be deployed to all Windows 10 devices in your organization for the best protection. Is this true or false? So you can unmute and talk. And if you talk, you should also be able to tell me why you think it is true or why you think it is false. So true or false, Microsoft Defender for Office 365 require an agent to be deployed to all Windows 10 devices in your organization for the best protection. Is this true or false? Can you all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, boss.
I
Okay.
think they can hear. They are
Okay.
still thinking. We should get fast because of time, and also
Yeah.
we're trying to manage the
Yeah.
size of the
Okay.
file.
Emmanuel
So
says true. Who agrees with Emmanuel? I just
I
want
think
agree
to
with
they
check
Emmanuel.
can
what
drop
that.
it in. They can drop it in the chat. If you have
Yeah, they
any
can drop
points,
it in the chat.
just drop it
Yeah.
in the chat, and so that we can make speed. I also you may want to expand maybe make it a little bigger in terms of yeah, but that would probably be too much. Maybe a little more. Just a little. Okay. If you so that we can see it at one go. Yes, this is fine.
Okay. Um, Emmanuel. Okay. Who agree with Emmanuel or who disagrees with Emmanuel? So Microsoft Defender for Office does not require an agent to be deployed. I did mention earlier that it's an email service, and one clue you should have is the fact that yes, it will do. Yeah, is the fact that what is it called? You can access your email from anywhere, even from devices that does not belong to an organization. So if it is agent based on device, then the effectiveness will depend on the location. So that makes it untrue. So that is false. What describes save attachment from Microsoft Defender for 365? Messages and what describes save attachment? Messages and attachments are routed to special environments where Microsoft Defender for Office 365 uses various machine learning and analysis techniques to detect malicious intent, protect user from malicious URL. This is a save link and a powerful report that enables your security operations team to investigate and report it. That's XDR. So basically, it is one. Which of the following is not an attack simulator scenario? In Microsoft Defender, I did mention that it's possible to do simulate what is it called? Attack, social engineering attack. But also here, while I've not mentioned maybe what type of attack, maybe social engineering or not, I think we should have a clue. Spear phishing, you can do spear phishing. In spear phishing, thanks, Innocent. In spear phishing, basically, you send maybe bulk email to targeted people and no, yeah, to targeted people and see if they fall victim. That's the social engineering. Password screening also, you try non-password. I think that's also social engineering. Bitcoin mining is not a social engineering attack that you probably can simulate. So that makes it the Bitcoin. Thanks, Bamidele. And if you check our answer, I think we got everything right. Yeah, yes. So Microsoft Defender for Office is agentless. And two, save attachment. Microsoft holds the attachment and they do verification first. And if they suspect malware, you can configure to say that how it should be addressed. And also, I think we can take some break here. But like I mentioned, I'll really indulge that individual of us, we should go to we should go to what's it called? We should try as much as possible to ensure that we read through the guides. Yeah, so Ali, I think we can take maybe 15 minutes break, sorry. And after that, I'm just going to show how the configuration is done for Microsoft Defender for Office and then get people to ask questions. And I think one of the things we can do is probably to download the payload, put it in an email and try to send it in and see the behavior. Okay. Thanks again, everyone. I think Wally, I'm just going to do it quickly on licensing, just to accommodate the person you mentioned earlier. For licensing, like I mentioned, anything that has to do with licensing, buying licensing or assigning licenses that is based on Microsoft admin page. That's admin.microsoft.com. You can go into marketplace, and for marketplace, you can go to all products. You see recommended and all products, and click on recommended all products and put the name of the license here, and you can sign up for it, whatever license you are interested in. To create a user, you can go under user to users and add users and just populate. You can click on next until you have created the user. To assign license to a user, you can easily just right click on this hamburger menu and click on manage product license, and you can add the available license to the user. You see currently that I have this one is out of license because I bought only one. But you see that my entrance to and mobility are all added basically. So you can assign license or unassign license and click on save basically. And also, it's possible for you to click on the user, go to license and apps as well, and then use this pane as well. to add license to a user. So I mean, you are flexible with your method of assigning license to a user. Now, if we go back to Microsoft Defender portal, I had already mentioned that from here, what you see is actually the Microsoft Defender XDR, and you are able to configure individual Microsoft Defender components just for you to then send signals, alerts, and incidents into the XDR. And currently, you see that we just spoke about Defender for Office. And as you can see currently here, we don't have like access to Defender for Office, meaning that we have to get it. Now, for us to get Defender for Office, we can easily just go back to Marketplace and all products and search for Defender for Office. And luckily for Defender for Office, you can always do a trial for this quickly.
Sorry to cut in. So it means that the mobility E5, mobility security, E5 security that we had doesn't come with Defender.
Does not cover for all Defender suites. It came
Okay.
with Defender for Identity
Okay.
and sorry. Okay. So it came with, if you look here, you see XDR, you have email and collaboration, which provide the basic one. You have cloud apps and you have identities, but you can't see endpoints, for instance, and you can't see Office, for instance. So those two are not part of it by default. So Microsoft license those separately, and if you need them, you have to activate them separately.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to look for. I search for Defender for Office. Alright, so, yeah. Yeah, so here you can see Defender for Office Plan 1 and you see Defender for Office Plan 2. I'm just going to go for Defender for Office Plan 2. So Plan 1 gives you the basic coverage, but it does not give you the access to do the simulated phishing, like we mentioned earlier. So you can just follow the process for a checkout. Like I mentioned, ensure that you select a trial so that you don't get charged for Defender for Office. I'm going to, okay, I want it to, for the trial to end when the trial ends. I don't want to get charged. Okay, so this is already active and I can assign the license to myself, which I'm going to do here now. So you see also that another way of doing that is actually go to the license itself and assign it to users. Once you begin typing user's name, it pops up. You can select the people you want to assign it to and click on assign. And I've assigned the license to myself. So if I click on active users and I click on my name and I go to license and apps, you can see that you can see Defender for Office Plan 2 as part of the license. Now, how do we enable Defender for Office and configure all of the policies? I've just dropped a link on the chat. Microsoft has a detailed documentation for configuring each of the products. And I'll say here that for each of the what's it called? For each of the product that Microsoft talks about here. What Microsoft is alerting us to is actually the feature capabilities of each of the solution. But if you need to get detailed, and you see that most time you find summary and resources. So if I click on this summary and resources, for instance, you probably see Microsoft actually giving you a link to other resources that may actually help you in understanding in details. Now we've talked about the Defender for Office, and you can see I shared the link for Defender for Office with you on the chart. You can see save attachment for Defender for Office, and you can see policies in Defender for Office. And basically, you have save link also in Defender for Office. If you want to do advanced protection and then the connection filtering, you have all of this in Defender for Office. So basically, how do you configure, for instance, the save attachment? According to Microsoft recommendation, you basically need to, it is an EOP solution. First of all, it's an Exchange Online solution, but you can configure it as part of the Defender. And anybody that needs to configure this, what you need to know first is the fact that um, where you need to go to do the configuration. And you can see Microsoft already give you a link that you can go to the Defender portal here, or to go to the save attachment directly. You can click on this link, or you can use Exchange. You can also configure it through PowerShell, which I'm not going to do on this form. You need to be assigned permissions before you can configure it, and you need to have several roles. So a lot of time people may want to try to do something. If you want to configure anything, you want to ensure first that you have the right license, and you also want to ensure the second thing you want to ensure is that you have the right permission to do it. So in terms of the license, we just activated Defender for Office, and that gives us the license. That gives us the use right for us to be able to configure the Defender for Office. But in terms of the permission, you see that Microsoft said you need to be assigned three, one of these three functionalities. One of these three roles. First is for you to be assigned Microsoft Defender XDR unified role if you are using RBAC. I think we didn't turn on RBAC on, but we don't have enough time to cover everything in detail. You can also be granted email and collaboration permission in Defender portal, or maybe Exchange Online permission that includes organization management or security administrator role. And also any of these Microsoft Entra roles, things like global administrator, security administrator, or global reader or security reader will give you access to Defender. And here is a step-by-step on how to do the configuration. If you want to create a, what is it called? For instance, using the Defender for Office. Defender for Office, save attachment is around threat policies, ensuring that the email you get, the attachments included are malware free. And you can actually just use the link to go to Defender for Office. Alternatively, you can browse to the Defender portal, security.microsoft.com, and then go to email collaboration policies, policies and rules, threat policies, and then you look for save attachment in the policies section. And then you can follow this step. So I think I may just have to sign out and sign in quickly. So I'm going to pause the screen a minute just because of the person. I want to retrieve. I think it's still taking some few minutes. I'm trying to log in again. Okay, so basically under policies, we're supposed to have save attachments and also save links. But currently we're still, I mean, they are still missing, but I mean, that those shouldn't normally take this long. I think I'm just going to move on if it's taking time, and then we'll come back to those later. Yeah, I think we can move on and just come back to it later, just for us to save time. Can we all hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, okay.
So we because of the activation, we can't handle safe email configuration, right? Or safe
No,
attachment.
we can do it, but I think it's not
It's not
fully
ready.
integrated into Defender. Yeah, it's not ready.
Okay.
So we're supposed to cover also the what's it called? Entry identity protection. And yeah, I think we can cover entry identity protection. If it's finished before I'm done with entry identity protection, basically we come back to it. If it doesn't finish
Okay.
before then, just
Okay.
leave
Go
it
ahead. Go
later.
ahead. Let's save time. Go ahead.
Okay. So as part of the requirement, now, and to be honest, a lot of people get confused when it comes to Microsoft and in terms of how you actually go to different portals for you to be able to configure different things. In terms of Defender, I say that XDR provides you an interface, even though XDR plugs into different other products to be able to do what it does best. And currently, if you look at this on my screen currently, you probably see one user at risk. And if you click on the user that is at risk, you see that it changes, it's taking me away from the Defender portal and taking me into Microsoft Entra. And you could see the user that is at risk, test user one. One thing I want you to notice on is the date when this happened. And this was the time when we were having what's it called? I think this happened on this is 12th. This was the day when we were having a when we last
That
had
was on
a
Saturday.
conversation. Yeah.
I think it was on Saturday,
Now,
last week Saturday, or this week Saturday. Yeah, last week Saturday,
yes,
sorry.
yes, last week Saturday. Now what makes it look at risk? If you look at the basic info at risk, the risk level is low. If you look at the sign-in details, you see one Outlook web. And if you recall, I had what's it called? I still have it logged on here. I logged on using Tor browser with this account. And if you look at the location, I think the location would have changed because at the time we were talking on on Saturday, I was in UK. Currently, I'm in Nigeria. And so basically, if I try to check my location now on Tor browser always change location very frequent. In fact, if I switch this browser off and I try to check the browser again and check my location again, it will give me a different location. Um, if I click on my location now, yeah, you see that it's showing me as being in the United States, right? It's showing me as being in the United States, but I'm not in the United States.
Sorry, Akumi, are you showing another screen?
That looks like Russia.
Yeah, oh, sorry. I am sharing another screen.
We can't see it here.
Yeah, okay. Um, okay, let me try and share my full screen. I was sharing a browser earlier just to ensure that I'm not oversharing. Please confirm you can see my screen currently.
Yes, I can.
Okay. You can see currently it's showing my location as Amsterdam, right?
Yeah.
This is because I'm using a Tor browser. If I close this and let me quit and I open it again, if I go back to check my location, it will probably also still tell you that you see it's establishing connection. And if I say what's my IP again, and I go to see my IP, it will probably give me another location.
Not detected.
Okay, it's still giving me
But a different
Netherlands.
IP, yeah.
You can see that the IP has quickly changed because it's randomized IP, and then I actually your real location where you are using a Tor browser. Basically, what this does is actually it can give you different IPs, and you can use it to generate things like a travel history. But currently, the reason why it's flagging this account as being at risk is because of the location, Russia. I've registered this account and I've checked. I mean, I said this user location is UK, but that user is logging in from Russia, and that is why it's saying the user is risky. And if you quickly look at it, and you can see activity also, anonymous IP address. And if you quickly look at this risky user, these are the things. First of all, I can see risk issue. I'm using anonymous IP address, and it's also coming from Russia. That is one. And detection not linked to a sign-in. It's not really because of the sign-in. I wasn't signing into the browser at first. It's just because of the location that is filled up. And also, if you look at the location, it is Russia. And when you notice that someone is logging in, I mean, when you notice something like this, or when the defender pick a threat, like this telling you that your user is at risk, and if you click on view all users to view, it directs you into the risky user page in Entra. And from there, you see the things that you can do. If I speak to the user as a security admin and I cannot get a hold of the user, I can block the user just to prevent that the user account is not used to do harm to the business. If I speak to the user and I confirm that the user is fine, or I believe that there's no risk, if I believe that there's no risk, I can dismiss the user risk. And if I look at it and see that this user is a, not likely to be in Russia, or maybe he has been arrested by Russians, and I mean, basically also I can confirm that the user account has been compromised, or if there's nothing wrong with the user, I've spoken to the user and the user said, "Oh, I just traveled to Russia and I'm working from there." I can confirm also that the user um, is safe, basically, and you can see the things here. And if you feel like, oh, the user should change password as well, you can quickly also reset the password for the user here and communicate that whatever option you choose. Microsoft, Entra asks you to do that and then to click yes. Now, why did I go into Entra? The reason why I went into Entra is just to show you that, first of all, we're going to be talking about identity. And we can see that this user identity information was fetched from Microsoft Entra and what was it called? Presented within the Defender pane. So basically, just having a look at the dashboard, if there is any ongoing issue, basically, you can easily pick it up here. If you have devices, for instance, which are not in compliance, you can see them here. If you have things, maybe connected applications that are having issue, you can basically see all of those. If you have a threat that require your immediate action, you can always see it here. And currently we have a lot, but we'll get to that point later. Now let's go into identity protection. Now, the identity protection you is configured not directly from within the Defender portal. You will have to use Entra. And some of the things that you can actually do is to look at risky behavior and then be able to configure user risk policy. You can also evaluate risk at the time that a user is logging in. And that is one of the ways to actually use Defender to implement a zero trust. Now, for instance, if you have a situation where a user, you can basically, you can have it as an organization policy that a user that is signing in, or maybe nobody should be able to sign into the organization system except from the organization devices. That will ensure that even if their credential is compromised, it cannot be breached, basically. So you have different sign-in risks that you can policy that you can always configure. There is a way you can monitor, you can investigate and remediate elevated risky users. which I think I just showed now. Implement security for workload identities. Workload identities are more like a service account in the cloud. They are not users profile. And then explore Defender for identity, and then basically module assessment. Now onto the introduction. I'll allow you to go and watch this video at your convenience. It just gives you an overview of what that is. And now some of the risky detection and the remediation that can do. You see that because I was using a Tor browser, my location and my IP address is actually hidden. And Microsoft could detect that it's a random IP address that I'm using. And that was why Microsoft immediately flagged me as a risky user because of the anonymous IP address. And you see basically signing from anonymous IP address, for example, Tor browser. I was using Tor browser or anonymizer VPN. Tor browser, anybody browsing with a Tor browser, you know that they are not showing you their true location. Basically, Microsoft noticed that and then flagged me as a risky user. I already spoke about a typical travel where you actually have users signing in from an unusual location. Maybe someone that has worked with an organization for 10 years or for 4 years, for instance, and the person has always worked from UK. And all of a sudden, you just see the person logging in from maybe Tobago. You may be, I mean, that's a typical travel. Um, if someone is logging in from an IP address that has been linked to malware in so many instances, it's possible for that to also trigger a risk detection. If you have someone signing in with unfamiliar signing properties, maybe signing with properties we've not seen recently for the given user, that can trigger it. If someone is signing with a credential that has been known to be indicate the user's valid credential has been leaked, one of the things Microsoft does is for Microsoft to actually look at what is it called, breach database. There's something called have I been pwned? Yeah, if you look at have I been pwned, if you check your email address here and it basically come up, it shows that your credential has been exposed at the time. And basically, for me, you see that my email address has been involved in a breach. So basically, if you register on the portal, you can always find where your password has been, where your credential may have been exposed. And basically, you can also change the password. I can log in here to actually check if I've been formed, but I mean to check here. I've not checked it recently, but I don't also have time to check that on this phone. Now, basically, these are some of the things that Microsoft may see. If someone is trying to log on with your account and then they've been trying different emails, that may, and they are successful after many attempts, it can be classed as a risky signing as well. If Microsoft enter threat intelligence has identified a known attack pattern and your account is associated with it, it will also do that. New country as well. This detection is for cloud apps. If Microsoft Defender cloud apps just discover that you are signing into an application all of a sudden from a different a country other than where you normally are, or maybe it's been configured that okay, you can't log on to this application from certain country and you're logging into the application from those countries. It is possible for that to raise a suspicious inbox forwarding as well. If Microsoft detect that you are forwarding all of your emails or emails coming into your email to an external email, that can also then be flagged basically as a risk. And for you to be able to configure, what is it called? For you to be able to configure risky signing, you need to be assigned either security administrator, you need to be assigned either security officer, and basically you can have security reader, which just gives you access to view, but not to make configuration changes. And for you to have risks, for you to have different risks configuration done, basically, you need to have some Microsoft licenses. And you see that for risky policies, user risk via identity protection, you must have a Microsoft Entra ID P2. For risky policies, sign in risk policies, via identity protection or conditional access, you must have Entra ID P2. Now, Entra is another solution different from Defender. And for Entra to be able to forward, for you to be able to do configuration and forward those intelligence into Defender XDR, Microsoft wants you to, I know it can be a lot of things to keep track of the license. Microsoft expects you to have appropriate license. So basically, you can look at this matrix to actually see which license you need to get. One thing you should have noticed I have done, to save myself time, is actually that I have gone ahead to actually subscribe for Entra Suite. So Entra Suite is Microsoft comprehensive license for Entra, and it includes Microsoft Entra ID Premium P2 basically. So all of the functionalities you have here is already included in Entra Suite. So basically, you can also sign up for Entra Suite. Now, implement and manage user risk. Basically, within the Entra pin, you can go into identity protection and sign into user risk. And from there, you can configure different policies that you need to enable. So basically, you can watch this video also to actually see how to do that. And also you can, in configuring, you also need to be able to choose what is an acceptable risk. And basically, organization must decide the acceptable risk that they want to accept, just to ensure that they balance user experience with security posture. I don't want to, now that Microsoft, these accounts has been flagged as being it's a risky, is at account at risk, but you can see that the risk level is low. It can be medium and it can be high. So for an organization, when you have a risk level actually set to low, even though it is a risk level that is low, it is still a risk. Do you want to prevent the user from being able to assess the environment? And then the things that I'm responding to here, I could have actually created a policy that triggers something just to show that you can verify the user that the user is who they claim to be. And then on the exercise, this exercise focus on how to enable signing policies. You see, basically, you have to go to Entra Admin Center using global administrator accounts. But I just want to check that you are following. Aside global administrator accounts, earlier in this particular section of the topic, I also mentioned some other accounts that you can use. Who wants to remind me? A quick question, you may please go ahead.
Security administrator.
Yeah, security administrator, thank you.
Or security reader too.
Okay, thank you. Reader can do, but cannot make configuration changes. Yeah.
Okay, so it wasn't now, it was much earlier when you were saying that the risky user, we could either confirm, but I wanted to ask that, like in Google, when sometimes you try to log in from another account, then it tells you that were you the one trying to, sometimes you can actually ignore it, not saying yes or no, and then you continue. Can we still do the same with this on this platform? Like, let's say you were in Russia for just a day. You know, if I confirm it that it wasn't a risky signing or something, someone else might actually take over the account. And I'm just like, you know, trying to be the security person. Like if somebody else uses that same, you know, this thing to logging into that account. And, you know, because we have already confirmed it not to be risky. So I'm just trying to see, is it that we can actually ignore it to like say, okay, oh, the person has confirmed to us and say, oh, I'm the one in Russia. I'm just here for a day. Can we actually ignore it, or we need to still confirm it so that it doesn't get triggered in Entra ID that this like somebody signed in? I don't know if that makes sense. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes, I do, and I think Microsoft's approach, because this is enterprise, and you have some risk team that are responsible for managing and overseeing the risk. And for reasons that you mentioned just now, a lot of people may receive it and just ignore, even when they should be worried. The view that we have is for the admin. Admin is the one to do the check with the user to be sure that it is not a risky signing. And if the user confirms that it's not a risky signing, like you see here, based on what they discuss, you see that confirm user safe. Basically, maybe user is safe or you've spoken to the user. If you ensure that, oh, this is not a risky signing, it's a place where user need to work from, you can dismiss it. Basically, if you dismiss it as dismiss the user risk, Microsoft doesn't prevent you again. But like you mentioned, yes, it's possible to just disregard it. But most often, you want to select the appropriate response just to ensure that subsequently Microsoft can also learn from that and use that to improve user experience. If the user is going to be working from that location, I'll probably just dismiss the user risk. And if the user is just there for a while, I can confirm user safe. And if the user says, no, I'm not there, or I don't know what's happening to my account, or maybe an account of someone that has left the organization, I'm going to block it immediately and have the person call me if I cannot reach the person. And if it's a compromise, I'm going to do that. But yes. Yep. So yeah, we're going to do the exercise, but I just want to be able to walk us through here first. And you can see basically in the risk policy, what it does is actually make use of the risk profile that has been assigned to user based on Entra flag of the users. And if you have a user with a risk of low, what do you want to do about it? If you have a user with a risk of high, what do you want to do about it? If you have a user with a risk level of medium, what do you want to do about it? So basically, the user risk policy allows you to do that. And you see, basically under while configuring identity protection, you can go to the user risk. And let me just go there just so I can show you. I think Microsoft in the documentation is using Azure Portal. Yeah, this is from Azure Portal, but I always love to use Entra. So it gives you almost the same view. Yeah, it gives you almost the same view, but just with a little different. You don't get to see other things that are not related to identity. So basically, if I go to protection, I can go to identity protection, and you see several things that you can do. If we go into risky users, no risky user find because I just confirmed the risky user that I saw earlier. And if you see risky signing, there's no risky signing, risk detection. Risk level is currently set to high and medium, so you can always adjust it to cover everything that you want to cover. I think I should I shouldn't have cleared what I cleared first anyway. So for risk policy, if you need to set a risk policy, you can see user risk policy here. And once you click on user risk policy, you need to set a risk policy. One thing I think you should have quickly noticed is the fact that um, I don't have to start setting a name. This tells me that I'm limited to actually setting one single policy using risk policy. So I can do all users, and if I want it to apply to just some individual, I can select individual and groups, and then I can click on this to select groups. And if I want to leave it on all users, I can leave it as all users and exclude maybe individuals or groups of people that I want to exclude from the risky signing from the policy. And what user risk level do you want to control or to manage? You can say low and above. You can say medium and above. Low and above means low, medium, and high. But this is going to be too restrictive. Some people will say medium and high, but I think for a lot of organizations that are risk averse, they will probably want to say low and above and click on done. And what happens to the control? Basically, when user, what do you want to do to access? When you flag a user as a risky user, what do you want to do? I may block their access. I may allow access, but require password change, basically. This can also be risky in a way because if someone's credential has been compromised and if the attacker is able to actually, what's it called, control their maybe password and their MFA, they might be able to actually initiate a password. So what I want to do is to actually do an outright block. And you see that it's currently not enforced, it's in disabled state. If I had enforced it and I clicked on OK, which I'm going to do, I think we'll be able to do something. One way of triggering what we triggered previously is for me to try to log in again. Outlook.office365.com. Now it's logging in, and let me see my IP. My IP still remains this. I'm just going to go to settings. I want it to always start from okay. I want to always start from the previous Windows and tab, but I'm not sure why this is where that's anyway. Sorry, I need to put my screen in first because I want to copy our password. Okay, sort of, I can't remember the. So I can't remember the.
Is it not the password you were trying
I can't
to?
remember the password that we created. Sorry?
I don't think you created it. I think you used an auto. Maybe can you check your browser if it was saved?
No, it wasn't saved. It's already come to me. I'm just going to all
Reset it.
users. Let me see if we get the password. Test user one. Reset password. Okay, so I'm going to use test user one. So test user one at CSMG one.com. And I'm putting the password.
So this is simulating that you are logging in from Netherlands.
Anonymous IP.
But
Anonymous IP because I'm on Tor browser.
you are logging in from the Netherlands, right?
Yeah. But you don't have permission to. Your signing was successful, but you don't have permission to access this
Access these
resource.
resources.
So I believe I may not
You don't have the
be.
license? Office 365 assign license to.
Yeah, it's actually a license. So, right. We use this user two that day. So, we use 365.com. Oh, yeah, I know what may have happened. We configure a risky sign-in, right? And I think we already enabled it.
Will it detect it?
Yeah, it should detect it if we already enabled. Oh, we didn't enable.
I thought you enabled it earlier.
No, I did not.
Okay.
You don't have a sign or successful, but you don't have permission to access these resources.
But if you go and check, will you find it there?
I
Will you
can
find the
find it, but
record?
I can find it if I want to, but I don't want to respect them. And the lot takes some few minutes also for create. Okay.
Today's 17th, isn't it? And this
Sorry?
12 to 30. Okay, the time. I'm looking at the time.
Yeah,
The time,
yeah, you can see the 10 minutes lag.
yeah.
Um, okay. Yeah. So I'm just going to
So
go ahead.
my question, the question I want to find, I want to ask Komi.
Yeah.
Now, is this still, no, you set it up. I believe that you set this up when you were in UK,
Which one?
as in this, your account.
No, 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 no. I did not set it up while I was in UK.
Okay.
What do you mean by
The
this?
reason I'm asking is the Tor browser you are using is showing that
Yeah,
you are in Netherlands, right?
yeah.
On what basis will it be flagged as a risky login? Did you define this area in which you cannot log in from your policy?
No, no.
So why would it
So
flag it?
So Tor browser, the principles of Tor browser is actually to anonymize your presence.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to go on dark web and you don't want other people to be able to pinpoint your location, actually you use a Tor browser. Tor browser is your actual location. But if you are browsing any site or if you are doing anything online, all of those services see the browser you are coming from.
No, I get that.
Uh,
I get that.
yeah, yeah.
I get that.
So when Microsoft identify that you are using a Tor browser,
Okay.
they
Is
also
is
know
what is
that you are not using they don't have your real
okay.
location.
Okay. Okay. I think I get it. It was because of Tor browser, not because of the well, because so the reason I'm asking is I know you can configure a policy to define a geo zone
Yeah,
or an area where a
trusted
user is
location.
allowed, right?
Yeah, trusted location.
And that will be from your policy. So when you define that, for instance, okay, let me give you an example. If you have defined that you want your staff to work from Nigeria.
Yeah,
Now, when they step out of Nigeria, whether they are in Nigeria physically, but they are using VPN to log onto the organization, or they step out of the organization, sorry, the country,
yeah,
risky login will flag it on the basis that this person is supposed to be within this geographical location, but he has now
yeah.
stepped out.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that configuration wasn't done on this one. It was because we're using a Tor browser, that's why. Okay, I can see 42 now. I can see 44.
Yeah,
I can see 44 and 42.
yeah.
The Office X mailbox you tried to access earlier.
Um, okay.
Did it
Yeah,
show you the
basically
IP? Did it show
it's
the IP
on
location?
it will show the details. You can have what is it called? Anonymous system number 101.
Because it's Tor
Yeah. But you can also see device info.
in Mac
Um,
OS.
yeah, authentication details, password in the cloud to correct password.
Can I try something, Kuni? Maybe before our time is fast spent. If I try to log
Yeah.
in from here, will it allow me?
It won't allow you. The reason
Why?
why this is currently blocked is because of the security defaults.
Yeah, I think you configured
Um,
the sign-in risk. You enabled it.
Yeah, that's what I want to find out. What did you enable? What did you enable?
I don't think I
I
enabled
think
it.
you enabled, but
Yeah,
I
you
just want
can
to know
check.
what
Just
you
check.
enabled. You
Yeah,
enabled and you said blocked.
block.
You said block.
Okay. Let me check.
You
I
did.
no. Okay, let me
You
go back
did.
and
Yeah, go and check the risking policy. I think I
yeah.
saw you enabled it.
Yeah.
Okay. But I mean, that's also one way of actually just narrow down on issue. When you also have an issue and you're not sure exactly where that is coming from as well. Protection, yeah. Risky user. Sorry,
No,
risky yeah, user
no,
risk
the second
policy.
one. Oh,
I
yeah.
enabled it. Sorry, I didn't know. Okay, that's in action. Actually, I never knew I enabled it.
And the
Um,
action is also block
and the
access
action
when you
was
enable it.
block access,
Block.
and I
Yeah.
can block access basically. So you could also see that as well. I have just also enabled access again. It can take few minutes for it to uh, it can take few minutes for it to also then reflect outlook.office365.com. Oh, it's asking me for my email. Test user to at csmg1.microsoft.com, and you have the password. Yeah, so it takes few minutes for that to be corrected. I would have loved to undo that and also see what happened as well
Okay.
if we actually change instead of blocking
So
to allow us to require password change. Yeah.
Back to my question of if you want to define where somebody can log in. Now, the action we have seen is as a result of you using an anonymized connection or browser. Now, what about if you have specific conditions, like you want to define some, some specific maybe geography that somebody cannot come in from, or of some specific time, or does it allow for you to define device that cannot connect?
Yeah, it allows you to do that. I think first of all, I'll say if you look at, under protection still, you have something called conditional. Sorry, you have something called conditional access. Under conditional access, see the things that you can do. First of the flexibility of defining the country locations, right? So if I want to say that allowed country, for instance, if I want countries that I want to allow, and if I want to say otherwise that I have countries that I want to ban, I can actually define that. I can see maybe by IP or by GPS location, but I think is IP is more reliable. If my company has office in Nigeria, let's say in Canada, and maybe in UK, United Kingdom, I can select those three basically and create it. And you see, I have allowed countries, but I don't have any access policy linked to that country. So if I want to link a policy to that, while I'm still on conditional access, I can go ahead and create a policy. And if I create a policy, I might be able to use things like named location to actually filter access. But now I've already digressed away from risky user because that's a different thing. For here, I can select all users, and I can, if I want to exclude some roles, I can select some roles, maybe like a global administrator. It's always a security practice to exempt some maybe break glass accounts from whatever policy you have set.
I was break glass.
Break glass means an account that is free from any security. If you have emergency or one of your security control malfunction and all the accounts and cannot log in, you have that account that is free from your policy and can always be used as last resort. Target resources, basically I want all resources. And you see network, you see network here, you can include what's it called, to create a conditional access policy and ensuring your tenant member are coming from the compliant network. Okay, so this was just recently added, and this is for people that are using global secure. That's another conversation. They are using this functionality here. So in the condition, if you want to make use of user risk, for instance, I can make use of user risk as the condition. What's it called? The user risk level is likelihood. You can control access based on user risk. If you want to use it, if I want to block people that have maybe people that are high, that have any risk flag, I can select people that have high, low, medium. So basically, any user with this risk level will trigger this. Any user, if I have sign-in risk, you have user risk and then you have the sign-in risk. If I have the sign-in risk, I can select sign-in risk for high, medium, and low if I also want. And you see also that I have name location. If I want to configure name location, I can configure name location. I can say any network or location. If I want the user to be part of any network, if it is all network location, yes, all the networks that are defined. If it is a named location, you see that I've only clicked on this location basically. I can put this one here. I can select this one as well. But now, to use that realistically, one thing I can do is for you to begin configuring the policy, I think you must already have something you want to do in mind. For instance, you were asking question about a known location. Let's just say allow access for name countries. For instance, I want to allow access by countries that I've already allowed. I don't need to make any use of this, so I'm going to turn it off. And I don't need to make any use of this as well. I'm going to turn it off. And I can go to location and select named location. And I'm just going to select the countries that I've allowed and click on save. And basically, what I'll say here is if you are coming from a grant implicitly, meaning that anybody that is logging on to any of the services covered in this target resource, right, which is all resources, and they are coming from that allowed location, the control is to grant, right? The control is to grant access, and I say require all controls. So I'm just going to click on select. But for other people that are logging in or accessing any resource and they are not coming from one of these named locations, their access will be banned, except I've added them to the exclusion list. Sorry, I'm clicking on network. Except I've added them to the exclusion list or part of the exclusion list I've defined, and I can create on this policy. So I'm not going to create the policy so that I don't forget it again later and lock myself out. Exactly. Hello?
Okay, Akumi, I think we can call it a day here. The night we spent
So
a
I
good
think that's
time.
how to do the configuration.
Okay,
The other thing is so I think we can pick up from here on
on
Saturday.
Saturday, yes, I think so.
So
One
Saturday
thing,
will probably just focus, sorry, Wally. Saturday will just focus basically on completing the Defender for Office setup that we are waiting for the um, that we're waiting to be available. Yeah, it's available now. So it just
all
took
right.
some time. So we'll start from there on Saturday, and we also take a look at the rest of the identity protection.